This is the contractor safety orientation for the Hanford and Henrietta power plants. Welcome to San Joaquin Energy, Hanford and Henrietta. The purpose of this training is to provide an overview of general workplace hazards and the applicable environmental, health, and safety programs and procedures. These safety guidelines apply to all work at all San Joaquin Energy facilities. General facility access. Access to the site is restricted. You must sign in and out when entering or leaving the facility. Parking is available in designated areas only unless authorized by San Joaquin Energy personnel. Before starting work, you must obtain all required briefings and permits from the Control Authority. Roadways must remain clear to allow emergency vehicle access. Worker responsibilities. All personnel have the right and responsibility to stop work immediately if they observe any unsafe conditions or have safety concerns. All personnel doing work at San Joaquin Energy facilities must comply with San Joaquin Energy programs and procedures. Contact any San Joaquin Energy personnel if you have any safety questions or concerns. Job hazard analysis, permitting. All work on site starts with a job hazard analysis. A safe work permit begins the work permit process. Following the safe work permit, other permits may be required, including lockout tagout, confined space entry, hot work, crane work. Do not start work until you have completed the work permit process. Lockout tagout. Do not operate any isolation devices that have a lockout tagout tag on them. Only trained and authorized persons may perform and exercise control over lockout tagout activities. Before starting work on any locked out equipment, a representative from each contractor must sign on to the lockout tagout. Hot work permits. Obtain a hot work permit from the Control Authority if the job requires welding, burning, grinding, or any other spark-producing activity. The permit is valid for a maximum of 1 shift or 12 hours, whichever is shorter. Review the hot work permit safety requirements before starting the work task. Confined space entry. Confined spaces, permit and non-permit required, are labeled. Prior to entering any permit-required confined space, obtain a confined space permit. The designated confined space attendant must pass the confined space attendance test before starting duties. Enter the permit-required confined space only if attendant is present. Unattended confined spaces must be barricaded. Personal protective equipment. Workers must provide their own PPE. Be properly trained on PPE. Use and maintain PPE in a sanitary and reliable condition. Workers and visitors must wear, at a minimum, the following PPE while in the power block: hard hat, safety glasses, steel composite-toed work boots or shoes, hearing protection. Hazardous materials. San Joaquin Energy makes the following information available to workers: hazardous materials PPE requirements, access to MSDS, labeling systems for hazardous materials, emergency procedures, spill response procedures. Workers who bring hazardous materials on site must provide an MSDS to the Control Authority in the control room. Electrical safety. An energized electrical work permit is required for energized electrical work. Damaged electrical tools and cords must not be used. Ground fault circuit interrupters must be used whenever plugging into non-GFCI outlets. Tools must be unplugged when not in use. Electrical cords must be elevated off the ground whenever possible to prevent a tripping hazard. Fall protection. Fall protection PPE must be worn when working more than 4 feet above ground if there is no guardrails or other built-in fall protection. Contractors must provide their own fall protection equipment and must inspect before each use. Ladder safety. Only fiberglass ladders are allowed on site. Wood and metal ladders are prohibited. Ladders must be inspected before each use. Ladders must be tall enough for the job and must be used properly. No standing on the top cap and rung, no overreaching, and maintain 3 points of contact when climbing. Scaffolding safety. All scaffolds must conform to applicable industry and construction standards. Only qualified and competent personnel are permitted to erect, alter, or dismantle scaffolds. Scaffolding may only be used if it has been inspected, is safe, and has an inspection tag. Safe lifting. When lifting heavy objects, personnel must not lift or carry heavy objects alone, employ proper lifting techniques, and use appropriate tools for the job. Barricades. Barricades must be used to control access to hazardous areas. Red danger or yellow caution tape is used at San Joaquin Energy facilities. Barricade tape is a warning of a temporary hazard. Do not enter a barricaded area unless you are involved in a particular task and are signed on to the work permit. Identify what type of barricade may be required for a particular work task. Crane safety. Postings are placed in prominent locations whenever crane activities are occurring. Check postings each day for any scheduled crane work. Personnel must stay clear of crane work unless they are directly involved in the crane activities and are signed on to the crane permit. Follow San Joaquin Energy crane briefing and plans whenever working with a crane. Mobile equipment. Non-San Joaquin Energy employees are not allowed to operate San Joaquin Energy-owned mobile equipment without express permission of SJE management. Contractor-provided mobile equipment must be certified to meet all applicable regulations. Mobile equipment operators must provide San Joaquin Energy with proof of training prior to operating any mobile equipment on site. Accident and incident reporting. All accidents, incidents, and near misses must be reported to the control authority. Emergency action. Immediately notify the control authority of all emergencies, including injuries, accidents, chemical events, fire, or electrical shock. Evacuation. An evacuation may be required in the following situations: fire or explosion, hazardous materials release, or bomb threat. An on-off repeated pattern from the general alarm horn indicates there is an evacuation required. Head to your site's evacuation muster location and follow instructions from San Joaquin Energy personnel. A continuous horn blast for 10 seconds indicates the alarm is clear. Shown is the evacuation route and mustering stations at Hanford. The primary muster station at Hanford is next to the control room. The secondary is located in the parking lot. Shown is the evacuation route and mustering stations at Henrietta. The primary muster station at Henrietta is the admin building. The secondary is located at the northwest corner of the plant. First aid. First aid kits are on site and available. AEDs are on site, and San Joaquin Energy personnel are trained in their use. Notify your supervisor and the control authority if anything occurs that requires first aid response. Emergency procedures for chemical exposure. Be aware of locations of eye wash stations and safety showers in your area. Keep a clear path to eye wash stations and safety showers. Immediately remove contaminated clothing in the event of a chemical exposure and flush the affected area with water for at least 15 minutes. Notify your supervisor and control authority as soon as possible. Thermal extremes. Heat stress. Know the signs and symptoms of heat stress. Look out for your coworkers. Drink plenty of fluids and take short breaks in cool or shaded areas. Housekeeping. Keep your work area clean. Remove debris and clean up any chemical or oil spills right away. Report all spills to the control authority. Do not create tripping hazards. Keep catwalks clear of debris. Do not block emergency exit paths, eye wash stations, safety showers, and fire extinguishers. California Proposition 65. Warning: detectable amounts of chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer, birth defects, or other reproductive harm may be found in and around this facility. If you have any questions, please let the control authority know. Other policies. Do not bring any weapons on site. Do not bring drugs or alcohol on site. Smoking and vaping is allowed only in approved and designated areas. Unsafe behavior such as horseplay and fighting is not allowed. Eat only in designated locations and clean hands of any contaminant before eating. Questions. If you have any questions, please let the control authority know. Welcome to San Joaquin Energy.